Israel's Security Cabinet has recently revised its war objectives in light of the ongoing conflict with Hamas in Gaza and the increasing risk of escalation with Iran-backed Hezbollah. A new priority has been added: the safe return of residents who were evacuated from the northern regions. This update came after an overnight meeting, with the Prime Minister's office releasing an official statement. Previously, the main objectives were focused on dismantling Hamas' military and governing structure, securing the release of all hostages, and ensuring that Gaza no longer poses a threat to Israel. The safe return of evacuees has now been added as a fourth objective, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant both advocating for its inclusion. Data from the Israeli Research and Information Center indicates that around 65,850 people have been evacuated from northern Israel over the past year due to the near-daily exchange of fire with Hezbollah. This change in war strategy comes as the U.S. Special Envoy visits Israel, aiming to negotiate a diplomatic solution and prevent further escalation. Joining us now to discuss this is James Marlowe, a foreign and defense analyst specializing in West Asia, speaking to us from Israel. James, thanks for joining us. Nearly a year has passed since the attacks on October 7th. How close is Israel to achieving its goals, particularly in securing its border regions, including the area where the initial attack took place? Good afternoon, it's great to be here. The Israeli military reports that they've destroyed all 24 Hamas battalions across Gaza. However, there are still splinter groups from those battalions attempting to flee northward and towards southern Gaza, especially near Khan Yunis and other humanitarian areas. That's why the fighting remains intense in certain parts of the south, with some militants attempting to move back to the north. One key development is that the IDF has taken control of the Philadelphia Corridor, a narrow strip of land north of Egypt's border. This area had been a major route for arms smuggling from northern Sinai into Gaza, supplying Hamas and other militant groups like Islamic Jihad. Despite Israel's success in destroying these weapons caches, the Palestinians are demanding that Israel withdraw from the Philadelphia Corridor in exchange for the possible release of more hostages. Hamas, however, has refused to provide information on the condition of the remaining 101 hostages unless Israel agrees to pull out of the area. This has been a highly contentious issue, not only within Netanyahu's government, but also with the United States, which has repeatedly urged Israel to consider a ceasefire or hostage exchange deal. The window for such negotiations appears to be narrowing, but so far, Israel is holding firm. Here in Israel, public opinion is split. Before the October 7th attacks, there was significant dissatisfaction with the Netanyahu government, and protests were frequent. The current government, a coalition of center-right and religious parties, holds a majority in the Knesset. However, even if elections were held tomorrow, we'd likely see continued demonstrations regardless of the outcome. Some groups, like the Hostage Family Forum, are pushing for an immediate hostage deal, while others are calling for a more aggressive military strategy to fully dismantle Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and other militant factions. It's important to note that opinions differ greatly among families of hostages. While some are demanding that Israel leave Gaza in order to secure the release of loved ones, others warn that withdrawing could allow Hamas to transport hostages through tunnels into Egypt, Libya, or even Iran, making their recovery nearly impossible. Despite protests and political opposition, Netanyahu's government maintains significant support, especially in more conservative regions of the country. A recent poll showed that while his Likud party would lose some seats if elections were held today, it would still be the largest party, though forming a coalition could be more difficult. As of now, there's no election scheduled until 2026, and the government appears focused on its current military campaign. Meanwhile, 101 hostages remain in Gaza, and the fate of those individuals is still uncertain. Efforts to meet Israel's war objectives continue, even as the conflict drags into its 11th month without a clear end in sight.